All right, I'm now inviting my guest in. Copy to clipboard. Go to Scott. Send this to him. And I'll just goof until he gets here. I've got a couple other things I have to prepare. I wonder why I went back to normal. Interesting. My saturation was just totally crazy. Now it looks pretty good. Interesting. Okay, I am going to go grab my pencil and a keyboard. And if Scott joins in, maybe he'll talk to you. I have been making myself pretty happy just lately with the Art Studio Pro and the Apple Pencil and the iPad, because I've been really you have to struggle when you talk about art being suffering, that all artists must suffer. They have to suffer with the fact that they suck, and and struggling beyond certain levels of suckiness is just every artist's problem. I mean, it's just the way it is, and there's not much to do about it other than sometimes it helps to actually write an essay or two. Say, what do I want? I'm not all that. We talk about the ability to think and reason out things, and some of us are kind of empty on that. We go along, we plod along. What little we learned when we were open to learning as young people, and if we didn't learn a lot, we're kind of in trouble. One of my favorite writers I got into for a long time was a guy named Charles Willeford, who wrote Pulp Fiction. He wrote, for instance, Miami Blues, or is that what it's called? Miami Blues? Yeah, I think so, with Fred Ward. And he wrote some great noir kind of stuff. And he had an experience of coming up in the Depression. And for him, getting to join the military was just the number one blessing in his life. And he stuck to it like glue, too, from all the way through the Battle of the Bulge. Actually, he was in that. And so anyway, he's a pretty cool guy. But one of the things he had going for him early on that he talks about was he went to a school that, I forget what it was called, but it was some sort of like little thing up in the hills of California, right in LA, where it was just like what do we need to teach a kid to survive? And it was just this no nonsense level of teaching that went on in this thing, that when he actually had to hit the road as almost like a hobo, he was over equipped. He saw all these people around him that just didn't understand the basics of little things you got to do to survive and stuff. Little things like he just was always crafty enough to make things for himself and things like that. It's interesting to read that. The story about his life is called "There Was a Street," I believe is what it's called. Just look up Charles Willeford autobiography, and it is a fascinating story. He writes about one time he was, really literally riding the rails and having to run miles and miles after he had a friend, not even a friend, just someone that had a mishap on the train with him. Hey, Scott, I see Scott. Let me see if I have to add him. I don't think I have to add him. I think he adds him. Oh, yeah, I do. Hey there, Scott.
Ellis, can you hear me?
I can. I just now occurs to me I need my headphones on.
Oh.
Scott and I just decided about 5 minutes ago we were going to be doing this.
Yes. Well, I sprung it on you because it's with the holiday. You didn't know what I was doing.
I didn't know for sure.
I worked half a day today, and then we were closed the last half of the day, and so I went and Michelle took off. Both of us were off half a day, and
okay.
So we went out to lunch, and we went.
So you got a little bit today, huh?
Do what?
You did work a little bit today, huh?
I worked half a day. It was no, my work is crazy because like any other place, we're short-handed, and I tried to get them to hire somebody or look for somebody, and they're like, nope, well, we can't do it. We made enough money last year to buy a bunch of equipment, but not hire anybody. And that's okay. They're pretty conservative with their money, which is probably why they've been in business almost 50 years.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, that's job security, man.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that. I mean, it just means that my days are crazy, but that's okay. I get the good thing is in my position, I tell other people what to do. So it's it is what it is. But I had one of the artists called in sick today, and so we were shorthanded. And then one of the oops, I got a new arm on my phone.
Uh
huh. So it's right in front of me.
Yeah, that's the deal you find about this setup. I've got, if you notice, I've got stuff that's like, hey, get some of that crap out of the view of what you're doing. Focus on something, bring it down, all that. Well, regular people don't have this as a priority in their life. They just. I was reading something about how podcasts. This guy was wishing with all his being that all these podcasts would go away, and I understand that. I understand that totally. It's like, yeah, they're just a something we've been doing. It's not like it's an important thing.
Yeah, there are a couple podcasts. Of course, you say that we're both on podcast.
Exactly.
Podcast in your case, I'm on. I recorded last weekend. I recorded. Let's see. I recorded 4 podcasts between Friday and Saturday of last week.
That's pretty cool. That's and those are your. Go ahead and just give the usual spiel you do when we're.
So one of them, of course, was my own podcast, which is called Scott at Midnight, and I talk about just whatever strikes my fancy, and I talked about the holidays. I'm doing a whole series on the holodays, and it's kind of like and it's all I'm going to go all the way through New Year. I mean, not every weekend, but I'm gonna do. It was kind of the Thanksgiving episode, where I talked about what I did on Thanksgiving when I was a kid and some of that, and then I'm gonna do probably 1 or 2 Christmas episodes.
Cool.
And then I'll probably do a New Year's episode too. at some point. And then so that was Scott at Midnight. Um, and that could be anything. I was gonna make Michelle record an episode, but somehow she got out of it. I want to do one. My wife is an engineer, and so I want to do one. I did one about me being an artist and what that was like. And I want to do one about her being an engineer because one of my best episodes, most listened to episodes, is on architecture, and it's really odd that that's one of the biggest ones. But
That is
uh,
interesting. Yeah. Well, I think everybody. I think there's just a kind of like it's almost like car culture. Everybody kind of like digs architecture usually.
oh yeah,
If
yeah.
you've got any artistic soul at
Oh,
all, part of what you dig is architecture.
um, so I'm gonna do one about her. I want to talk to her about being an engineer, especially
Mm-hmm.
being a female engineer in the time frame that she got into the business and how she was interested in it and that sort of thing. Haven't recorded that yet, but I want to do that'll probably be this weekend's show. And then we did 2 episodes of Better Than Fiction, which me and 2 of the guys do. We talk about just whatever, usually it's pop culture related, kind of strikes our fancy. Um,
It's generally structured around you start on a comfort level of saying cool stuff,
yeah, this
right?
is yeah,
Typically.
yeah. It's it's hard to come up with a topic that 3 people will agree on.
Mm-hmm.
So we generally just talk about what we like. The challenge is when you're doing when we do one of those every week. Now we usually do a couple because we can't get together to record every week. And the challenge with a podcast like that is, God, coming up with content is,
Yeah.
you know, I've been pretty fortunate on mine that I've done it. I've done I think like 38 episodes of my own, and I haven't come up with a, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. But I kind of wonder. But occasionally I'll sit down and make a list of stuff I like, um, and that usually gets me through um, the. And then the other podcast I did, of course, you're on, which is a classic cinema
And
podcast.
we just watched Tora.
Yeah, and what's funny, Ellis, is when we watched it, I didn't care for it that much, but
But
in,
you've been
in
thinking about it.
reflection, I like it more now. In reflection, I think I went into it, and I kind of said this a little bit during our podcast. But I think I went into it with the wrong mindset. I was expecting like a John Wayne action movie. I mean, there's
Yeah.
exclamation mark in the title, 3 of them,
Uh huh. Yeah.
but it wasn't really. Even the action wasn't real actiony. It was very dry.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Which was
was.
good.
Yeah. Very documentary kind of. I want you want to know. A satire of what kind of action occurred on it. Think how many times they put that valise with the clasps on top of the desk and put papers in it.
Oh yeah,
That became like something like how many times are they going to do that? They were headed out
I, you know, I,
to have conversations with the
yeah.
upper
Well,
what?
you know what I wondered about that is are they? I didn't really get the point of that until later in the movie because I was like, and I get it now. It's how they were transporting secret documents,
Yeah, yeah,
and securing them
yeah.
because it
With
was
just
locked.
little padlock on it. Okay, it's secure.
Yeah,
Nobody's
but
going to run up
I
and
like I thought they were putting them in there for safekeeping, and I figured at one point they'd look in there and go, oh well, it's full. Get out,
no.
case number 2.
They always had something to pass up the ladder. And they had to do it with that
Yep.
sort of transport, and then usually did it by hand. Yeah, it just showed
Yeah.
all the things that if they could go wrong, they did go wrong. Murphy's Law was in full effect during Pearl Harbor. We had a lot of
Yeah.
guys that were kind of natural slouches anyway. We had been at peace for quite a while, and even though we knew it was in the air, everyone was still, I mean, they were
Denial.
having drills that said, "Hey, we're going to have a drill and we're going to go on full alert." But then you start treating that like, man, they're on full alert again for no good reason.
Yeah.
So
Not this.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
it was fascinating.
yeah, I enjoyed it. Again, it wasn't this riveting John Wayne coming over the hill kind of thing.
uh,
But no. In retrospect, it certainly wasn't the worst of the movies. I still disagree with the theory. One of the guys on the podcast, he only picks movies he hadn't seen, which to me defeats the whole point. It drives me up the wall because it defeats the whole point of recommending a movie to other people.
yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, but he's
I mean, it's his pick.
he's basing it on, supposedly, I guess he does a little bit of research that says you should see this movie. This is classic, and then he based on it. And plus, I don't think Dave, who we're talking about, he takes in as many movies as the rest of us. So there's going to be this big bunch of movies that almost all of us have seen, except Dave hadn't seen it. So he's usually going to be.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't think he watched a lot of older movies.
Sure. That's the deal. And
that was the thing I forgot to mention for anyone that this is pre, what is it, 74? It's pre Jaws, whatever.
Yeah, pre Jaws.
It's pre Jaws. It's gonna be a pre Jaws movie. That's kind of the ground rules. Yeah, and I don't know. So I disagree. I disagree with that philosophy, but I will say this: even though I disagree with it, I do defend his right to pick whatever he wants to pick.
Sure.
I mean,
we got to have that.
I don't fault. He's one of our rules was not you had to see it. One of our rules, the rules are pretty simple, and he's sticking to the rules. Again, I disagree with it, but hey, it's his pick. And that's the other rules. No one really gets to countermand somebody's pick.
Yeah, the main weakness right now seems to be that we all have got this thing. I think we're all kind of surprised that some of the movies we're picking aren't older, and then when we examine it, it's like we picked right up to the limit of things, and we picked more of those films right in the mid 70s than you would think we would naturally, and which is kind of weird. I mean, we picked The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. I picked Charlie Varick. What's that?
That was my pick.
Oh yeah, and I love me some Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. That is one of those flicks where you can kind of study it and say, you know what, this may be perfect in terms of like storytelling. It just keeps you involved the whole way through it.
John said my screen's going to give him seizures.
Oh, yeah, you're showing just enough of your something or other there. Oh, it's your light table. It's the fluorescent of your light table.
Well, yeah, it's LED, but it does that when you record it. There's like a
we're seeing the refresh rate, the refresh rate on it.
Yeah, I've noticed that when I take photos of it, it does that. So look, it's LED. There shouldn't be any pulse, but obviously there's some kind of pulse.
Oh yeah. It's got a refresh. It's going to refresh just like a CRT or anything else like that.
But anyway, honestly, a lot of the movies I pick, Ellis, is because I want to see them on Barry's big screen.
Yeah. I could see doing that.
Watching a guy's house. He's got a projector on, and he's got a screen and a projector, and it's about like seeing it at a. I mean, I swear the movie theater I go to has a screen about the size of Barry's
Everything
house.
I've seen over at Barry's is the best way I've ever seen it ever. To talk about past experiences with any of these films. A lot of these films we've watched, I've only seen them on TV. I think probably Creature from the Black Lagoon, which we saw as one of our first picks. That was pretty amazing. Of course, never seen it better than that. I know for sure. Well, and of course, some of this with that higher resolution, that huge projection screen, you can also pick stuff up that you also.
Yeah, you see the wires.
you can see the sausage being made there on a lot of this stuff. But that's all also kind of cool. I forget what we.
I mean, yeah. It's okay. We don't mind that. I don't think. I don't.
Nah.
You know. Anyway, so what'd you do today, Ellis?
Oh, I managed to talk myself. I didn't talk myself into getting out yesterday, and today I did, and that was good for me. I got out, a nice brisk walk around Early Wine Park, and I got a nice haircut that I decided to leave all the growth on the top and then burr it down, almost white wall it on the sides and the back. And I like it. It looks pretty interesting. It looks like I escaped in the middle of my haircut. Basically, it was what it looks like. But it looks all right. It doesn't look as bad as I'm describing it. It looks like what it most looks like. You remember Steve McQueen's? I was always so impressed by this with in the Getaway in Steve McQueen's Getaway, not the Alec Baldwin Getaway.
Right, Steve McQueen.
He's got this.
Steve McQueen, Alec McGraw.
I've only seen I tried to watch the Alec Baldwin Getaway. I need to try it again sometime. But anyway, Steve McQueen has this awful haircut, and you know how picky movie stars are about their looks and everything. I was always so impressed by, Sam Peckinpah told him what he visualized this guy's look to be, and he had a prison haircut, and he had that white walled up to kind of a unruly shock on the top, and I just stared at him when I first saw the Getaway for minutes. I thought to myself, man, that's not the nicely groomed Steve McQueen I'm used to. But,
oh wow, I'm looking on the YouTube feed. My screen looks worse than ever. Hang on, jeez.
Okay.
Poor John. Hopefully I don't give him seizures. I hope he was kidding.
Well, you know what? That can be done.
Yeah. Oh, you know what it is, Ellis?
What?
I think it's this. Let me see if that makes it any better. Hang on. I think it may be. No, it is that light. I thought maybe it was, the problem is every light I have.
Well, that helped whatever you did then. Oh, you just turned off the light table, didn't you?
Yeah, which I can do that.
Well, it's pulsing up through your paper even. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I got the light off now, so we should be good.
Yeah, that's all it was causing it.
Wow. We've never had that problem before, I don't think.
Well, you might turn it on again and see if your sync is different this time, because that can happen. It's like any sort of synchronization, like shooting between the blades of your propeller as a fighter pilot. Have you got it back on?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So your camera sync might be different this time when you turn it on. It looks different already if it's on. Is it?
Yeah, it looks better in the live stream, but man, in the YouTube thing, it looks terrible.
I'm not even looking at a YouTube. I could look at it. Probably a good idea.
I'll look at it. I'll refresh the. Okay, it looks better on the YouTube deal. I'm looking at it now. Okay. Anyway, so back to your haircut. It's funny you mentioned that because the other day I got a haircut, and last Friday, and for some reason when we saw you, I was, and here's the question I'm leading up to: do you go someplace and get a haircut, or do you do it yourself?
That shows you how good my haircuts are. I go to a place. It typically costs me about $20. I've got two places over there by Early Wine. I stop in and have a haircut.
Well, hang on. To be fair to me, you're wearing a hat, dude.
Yeah, I'm wearing a cap a lot.
Yeah. So bust my chops about your haircut. You know.
Yeah.
So,
What?
Michelle and I, okay, so Michelle took off, and her and I went running around. We were downtown by her work, of course, and I considered calling you, but man, it's cold outside. Um, the We went to they've opened the mixtape Factory Obscura downtown. We went to that.
Okay. That's the guy that owns.
You know what I'm talking about? Where we saw
Uh,
the King's Mouth,
yeah, yeah.
the Flaming Lips, the
The
Flaming Lips
Flaming
place,
Lips
which I was
building.
told they don't own. Yeah, which I was told they don't own.
Oh, they don't own
They're
it.
not associated. No, they kind of the artist collective owns it now,
Hmm.
which is good because
The,
it's
the
their stuff
the
that's there.
the building.
Yes,
Okay, so that guy sold that
yes.
building.
So
Okay.
yes, or yeah. I don't know what the actual transaction was, but yes, I was corrected on Instagram by somebody, which was fine. They were nice about it. Somebody I know.
Hmm.
Anyway, but we went to it. It was really cool, man. My only complaint was they didn't have a spot where I could leave my coat, and it was hot in there, and I about died. I mean, not literally, but
Sorry. Shouldn't have.
and so I think I got a headache out of it,
Well, you know,
which is my
that's when a guy gets sick, when he feels a little less than his best, and you're around a bunch of
yeah,
people. I think a guy that's
yeah,
feeling on top of his game can be around a lot of germs. But if a guy's feeling kind of beat down a little bit, and
yep,
you're around a lot of germs, I think
yep.
you're a little more susceptible.
That's what my grandma used to always say, man. She
Oh,
would
really?
say that, yeah, she had this theory that if something happened to you, say you cut your finger and you had to get stitches,
Uh huh.
or say you had an appendix you had to have removed or something, that you were more likely to get sick because it weakened you,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yeah.
you were susceptible. You know, she always said that. You know, like after you have surgery, like for the next year, she felt like you're real vulnerable to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so anyway. But anyway, so we did that. It was pretty cool. I recommend it. It was $15 to get in, and I would buy a pass, but they only offer individual passes, and they're $70. I told them they should. When the girl corrected me about the ownership of the building, I told her it was pretty cool. I said you need to get you need to get a coat rack, and you need to offer a couples pass, which she thought was a great idea. You know, I would buy if an annual pass is like $70. If a couple's pass is like 100, I'd probably do it just because it's that cool to see. It's not super big. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but there's so much stuff in there to see, man.
And it is just a bunch of art installation
Well,
kind of stuff. What?
it's it's very hard to like. For example, you go in this room and they have a strobing light kind of, and it's not strobing like my light table, but more like a slow pulsating light, and the and it's kind of a red light, and the wall is a small room. You kind of crawl in and sit down. Think of like an igloo, like an Eskimo's igloo,
Uh huh.
and so it's kind of like that. It's like you're inside that. It's kind of domed, but the walls are made of pink plastic flamingos, and the light behind them kind of lights them up. I posted a picture on Instagram, and one of me and one of Michelle, and we're in that room, so you can kind of see. You can't see a whole lot, but you see all these kind of a texture of flamingos on the wall.
Hmm.
You know.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure I need a
if you
season's
go,
pass to it, but just kidding.
well, but see, if I got a season pass for two, then I would take
Hmm.
you and you could check it out. And then I would take
Yeah, yeah.
Michelle, and um, you know, I'll go back. I don't know, I'll plan accordingly, and I'll make sure I'm well hydrated
Oh,
before I
you had
go. But
problems
it was
with feeling comfort
well,
level. Your comfort
hot.
level went away on during the
Yeah,
ordeal, huh?
yeah. Well, we were downtown. I was walking around, and I need to remind myself to take a water bottle
Yeah.
when I go downtown.
I'm really
And
amazed. I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and the reason I woke up is just because my everything in my mouth is just like glued shut. It's so dry, and I keep water.
I woke up that like
I keep water next to right next to my bed, so I can't have a quick drink. It's like, geez,
yeah.
I have no idea if
On
that's the caffeine that I've forced in my system all day long. That's the physical effects of it later as you sleep, or what? But
well, I don't know. I do that, but on top of that, I've been told by my eye doctor that she thinks I sleep with my eyes open. So not only is my mouth dry, but my eyes are dry. Like
yeah,
it's like my face is like the hair or something.
that's
You know.
interesting. Yeah,
But
we probably all should train. I could do that. I could turn that. I could, well, I could get at least 2 hours worth of it. I've got a little thing. All you have to do is plug it in, and it starts making little 5 minute loops of video, and I could get 2.5 hours worth of myself sleeping. If I ever thought of it.
wait, I think you've gone obsessed. You've gone insane with this camera in your living
That's what Doug gave me some feedback a little bit like that. Says I've never had so many security cameras in my entire life as you seem to have, and I've only got 2 cameras. And
I know, but they're on constantly. That's the difference. Is like
no, they're not on
Doug is
constantly. One of them is only motion detect when it's on in the active mode, and
okay. Well,
it's never on except when
oh,
I leave for my walk. But I did get something really cool. I turned it on. I put it on my channel. You could check it out.
I've seen all of them.
Oh, you've seen them? Okay, okay,
Yeah, it emails me. It emails me when it said
okay,
Ellis posted a video. It's like
okay, okay.
old man. There's an old man in my living room.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm like, oh
did
my
you
god,
see
he
the
must.
one where I come out and turn off the lights and it goes into infrared mode?
I saw the preview. I haven't watched it though.
Okay, it's called Ghosts on the screen because it's got some cool little ghostly kind of things happening. They could be dust motes, but they might be the spirit world too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got a heck of a camera if you can pick up the spirit world.
Yeah. The cat is also.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
well, I have to ask you again. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. You don't have any interest in coming over for Thanksgiving, do you?
No. It'd be a little too much for production for me. Thanks. Appreciate it though.
Okay. Hey, I don't blame you. If I could, I'd sit at home.
And when I say a little bit too much of a production, it's quite a trip. For one thing.
Well, I could come get you.
Oh yeah, you already said that too. I forgot that.
Yeah. Oh.
No.
Yeah,
That's
of all times. Don't let that stop you this time. But I understand. I just have to ask.
Yeah. You know what I watched? Talk about classic cinema.
What's that?
I watched today. I finished off watching. I started it last night. There's this guy named Iowa Hawk on Twitter that I always follow, and he said his all-time favorite car culture movie is Hot Rods to Hell. And
oh, really? What'd you watch it on?
I watched it. I rented it. It was a rental on Amazon Prime. And,
it's on Prime?
Well, it wasn't on Prime. No, I rented it.
Oh, okay. Was it good?
It's so bad. It's good. And I mean, I'm not even
Oh,
talking about halfway bad. It's really bad. And because the acting is so, it's not that the acting is substandard. It's that it's so obvious the director was just so happy with whatever he was getting right away. You know, there was probably
yeah.
they were probably three or
Uh,
four takes away from getting it right, and he didn't care. He was there to make
he
a
may not know.
yeah, he's there to make a teenager's movie. You know,
What?
that's
When was it? When was it made? 50s, 60s?
probably late 50s, I would think. Well, no,
Oh,
it's
okay.
probably got a real. Well, I'll look it up. Take a break. Look up Hot Rods to Hell.
There you go.
It's got
So
Dana Andrews in it. Hot
I
Rods
checked the
to
movie out
Hell.
of the library.
But it
I
did
checked.
have just fantastic hot rods in it. Great looking little cars.
Yeah, that guy's into cars. I know
Oh
that.
yeah, oh yeah.
I follow him.
1967, much later than I thought it was. Heck, it was just right before the Summer of Love. That's amazing because it felt,
Yeah.
yeah, it was right before that period before you could honestly say you had cited a hippie. It was just right before that.
Oh, yeah.
See what the
That's when
trivia
I was
said.
born. 67.
67? Really? You got
Yeah.
to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
See if it
I
brings back
will.
any weird
And
baby memories.
yeah, I remember my dad racing.
Was he a bit of a hot rodder?
Nah. I mean, it's funny. My dad was an aircraft mechanic, but he did have a real nice El Camino when I was a kid that
Oh wow,
I
El
hoped and hoped.
Camino.
Yeah, it was like a 67, I think. I think it had 327 in it or something like that. And I hoped and hoped and hoped that he would keep it and give it to me when I turned 16. But when I was like 14, he sold it. I had a three on the tree, man.
Yeah, hell yeah, I remember those.
I,
Oh,
I
do I
remember riding
remember?
with
My dad had
my mom.
one too.
I remember riding with my mom, and she couldn't get it. It did that standard thing when you don't do it right, and it like jerks back and forth.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
she
yeah.
couldn't drive for crap.
Oh, this is fascinating. Originally made for television, it had that feel of a television movie, but it was released to
Oh, really?
theaters and drive-ins instead. Yeah.
Um. Okay,
Huh.
so I checked out a
Wow.
movie from the library that I stumbled across, and it's on my Canopy list. It's not on Amazon, but it's on Canopy.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Canopy's cool.
It's called Rare Export. Have you heard of it?
Rare X4.
Export,
Rare
like
X4.
import export.
No,
Rare Rare Export. Yes.
no, I haven't heard about
So
it.
so it's a Christmas movie kind of. It's kind of it was described um, as a combination of it's a Christmas movie meets The Thing, and it's about these kids in I think they're in Iceland or Sweden or somewhere like that or Finland or something,
Oh, wait a
and
second. Did they discover an ancient evil
Santa
spirit?
Claus.
Yeah, an ancient evil
Yes,
spirit version of Santa Claus. Yeah, I
yes. Have
think
you
I
seen?
may have seen that.
Oh, well, don't ruin it. I read a
Okay,
little bit
okay. No,
about
no,
it.
I couldn't because I don't remember it, how it turns out, or if I watched all of it or what.
Well, I think I'm gonna watch it tonight because I got it from the library.
Cool. Yeah, that library.
Well, I've been in the Christmas mood.
Well, I wrote you guys. We're on the same mailing list while we're being in the same podcast together, and I wrote you guys a quick note about the Sisters Brothers,
Oh
which
yeah.
I'm reading right now, and I'm just almost done with it. And since it's a 300 and something page book, that tells you something about how much I enjoyed it because it only took me three days to almost be done with it. which is quick for me. I know you're a quick reader, but I'm much
I'm a
slower. Yeah.
Ah,
What's that?
that's my problem.
Yeah,
I'm a quick
you're.
reader, but I don't have time to.
Yeah, you
I'm
don't have
lucky if I get
time
to
for
read
them.
15 minutes a day.
Yeah, you'd make time for Sisters Brothers is one of those that you don't feel like you're working at it. Believe me, to read it, it's
Well,
a lot of
I've
fun.
got it coming to the library.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, in fact, maybe they're waiting on me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You'll be reading it first before you see it. I saw it first before I'm reading it, and you know, when the book is so much better than the movie, and the movie, I wasn't down on the movie at all. I thought it would made it was something that Charles C. Riley or John C. Riley wanted to make. He bought it, he
Yeah.
put himself in it, and so obviously he really thought the story was great. But then there are decisions they made about how they adapted it almost seemed kind of weird to me. It's like, now why did you think you were improving this when you had something that you liked right in front of you? Why did you go in these directions?
Why would you buy it and then change it? That's what I
Yeah,
was
exactly. Yeah. They've got a couple of decisions like that in the movie that's like, I wonder why they did that. Because the book is so good.
That's how I felt about Jurassic Park.
Yeah. What they don't do? Yeah, there were a lot of things they didn't do in Jurassic Park, huh? Well, usually you got to trust Spielberg on his instincts on what's a movie versus a book.
We watched Jurassic Park not too long ago, and it holds up. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I liked it better viewing it now than I did at one point. Hang on just a second. I'm going to grab something. I want to show you something.
Okay.
So I ordered this.
What you got there?
You can see it if I get far.
Oh, I'm watching the YouTube feed. I'm not seeing real time. Here we go. What you got there?
It'll take a second. So I ordered this.
Oh, okay.
This is called the Big Book of Christmas Movies. And I got it because every year about this time of year I try and read something Christmassy. And I had a book, it's around here somewhere, called Murder for Christmas that I've had it for several years, and last year I worked my way through it at Christmas time. And I wanted to get it. There was a book on Amazon called Christmas Ghost Stories that's been in my wish list. I haven't bought it, but I saw this. I bought this instead because I thought I'd like a crime book better than a ghost story book. But anyway, this is what I'm reading next.
That's like a good choice.
I just got it yesterday, so I haven't started it. But anyway, so that's what I'm reading next, I think. Unless something else comes to me. You know how that goes. I'm a pretty fickle reader.
Well, yeah, you read quick enough that you probably can get what you usually get out of a book and be on to the next one.
Well, if I get into something and I don't like it, I'll dip out pretty quick. And I'm traveling this weekend. I'm going to my in-laws, so I had to find something to read.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take, and then I got jury duty in like 2 weeks. So, who knows what that'll be like.
Yeah, I mean, it'll just all depend on the case. It'll be all you'll be talking about.
Yeah.
Well, if it's interesting, that's all you'll be talking about. Ah, damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I just deleted.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I can undelete it. Let's see if I can do that.
What did you do? Did you delete your art?
Yeah. It's all right. Wouldn't going anywhere.
One of my artists at work worked on something half a day, and then he stepped away from his computer. I don't know if he went to lunch or break or what, and he comes back oh shoot, and I go, what? And he goes, that art I was working on all morning, my computer something happened, his computer restarted or something,
I tell you what,
and
if
he
he was
completely
was he
blew his
working in was he working in Maya or
Yeah,
3D or he was?
no, Illustrator.
Oh, okay, Illustrator.
And it's just like, oh, dude, you got to save that stuff, man. And he's like, well, I can redo it. And I go, yeah, but,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, they're
we're
paying you to
behind.
redo it. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, not so much that as we're so busy. It's like, dude, we don't got time for you to be redoing stuff. You gotta be a little better. And occasionally I'll tell those guys, hey, save. And of course, oh, that's what it was, the power flip. You know, and that's of course, that's a thing. We have battery backups, but man, that they're no guarantee. But the latest version of Illustrator is really good about if it crashes, it'll save it. It'll save a recovered version almost all the time. I've had it save me a couple times.
yeah. I've had that happen on Maya, which, like I say, that's okay. The Maya crashes are just so sudden. It's like it's just gone. It doesn't give you any sort of like a little circling beach ball or anything like that. It just feels like it
Yeah,
pops. Yeah, and it's no
yeah.
longer in front of you.
So what have you been working on?
Oh, I've been working on getting better at this iPad, and I've got all my prep done. I've done all the hard work of doing my panels and everything for the comic strip, but I've been
Yeah.
having so much trouble getting happy with what I'm doing with the iPad. But just today, I feel like I got a little bit of a breakthrough where I'm combining uh, this pencil setting, this HB pencil setting, which I made just
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit juicier with the settings, and I'm really kind of digging where I've got that, and then I make it, uh, you know, a little fainter, and then I ink on top of that, and then I maybe use a little of the. I've been looking for this, I've been looking for my look, and it's been tough. I've
Oh,
got
yeah.
I've got it in my mind, but I haven't been able to execute it yet, and I'm hoping for like a Glenn Barish kind of thing that is casual, has a whole lot of gesture in it, has my a little bit of my construction line still in it, and
Yeah.
then has a final bit of a couple of licks on it that communicates what you got in mind. It's got to be inked at least well enough for somebody to tell what they're looking at. So
Oh, yeah.
that's what I seem to manage to achieve just recently. Because I'm
Golly.
maybe a little too happy with myself in terms of my roughs. Because that's obviously all I publish on. I've lately the only designation I give anything I do is I just call it doodles. I don't ever try to
Oh, yeah.
sit down for 3 hours and do a drawing. I never do that.
I saw maybe it was a video, YouTube video recently or something. What did I know? There was something I read recently, and they were talking about this idea of like when you're drawing, you should draw loose. And the theory was, and I don't know if this only applies to beginners or anybody, but the theory was if you get used to drawing tight,
Hmm.
then you'll never get loose, but you
Right.
should draw rough so that as you get better, your roughs will get tighter, but they won't get stiff. Does that make
Yes.
sense? Did I explain? And so I've been giving myself permission to work a
Permission.
little bit looser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly
Um,
where
you
I'm at
know.
with this. This because pencil, and Doug is always had these semi compliments for me. He doesn't mind laying it on me when I do something kind of half-assed, but he always liked my pencils. Well, having this
Yeah.
new pencil setting, and I see it. I mean, this looks about like what I would do with a pencil, and having it nice and soft. That's about what I would do with a 10B pencil or a Blackwing, and it's kind of fun. So that allows me to feel like I'm drawing the way I would be drawing, and then to demonstrate real time while I'm talking, I'll just set the opacity down to nothing, and now I'll make a new layer, and then pick something that is a inking tool. I think I also set this inking tool up.
I'm watching the YouTube, and there's a little bit of a delay, but man, you got a lot of brushes.
Yeah, well, that's just what it came with.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's lots more I could load because it's compatible with Photoshop. See, now I can just come along and say, okay, I like the energy of all of that. See how much of it we can keep as we ink.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I worked digital, that I was always fiddling with the tools because I didn't like. I never could. There was never any tools that I felt really comfortable with.
Yeah, well, that's the deal. I'm working with something I am trying. I'm just determined to make work in a way that I'm enjoying it. Because I dig the iPad and everything.
Well, my problem was there was too many choices.
Yes, that can be the case. You should almost have an artificial thing saying, "This is all you get." Yep.
Yeah, you can only save 10 pencils.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
No,
always
and I have done that to an
like
extent. Yeah, if I bring this thing all the way down to 1, it is still a nice little line. Which, that might be my Frank Quitely look or something like that. The 1 pixel line. I can't get over how much I like even that little bitty. And this is one of these things where I set this up, modifying one of the brushes I already had. It's a calligraphy.
Oh, yeah.
It's a calligraphy brush to where, if I'm expecting it to be uniform, I'm going to be unhappy with it because it's thick and thin. It's thick this way. It's skinny that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's how that.
That's cool.
What's that?
That's cool. That's cool. You're still digging the iPad.
Oh yeah, really digging it. I need to learn the ins and outs of. I'm sure I'm using it at about 10% of what it can do for me.
Of what?
Well, I'm probably just a little too ignorant of how it works. Like I don't know how to get. Even with my Macintosh, I don't know how things work the way that I used to know how PCs worked.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to get under the hood. In other words.
Oh, I think a lot of that under the hood stuff on computers has kind of gone away.
Yeah.
Certainly on the Mac stuff. Well,
it was never there. Yeah, they tried to keep you out of it.
Yeah, that's what they have. That's what they have Mac geniuses for.
Mm-hmm.
Take your credit card and head to the mall.
Well, yeah, it was just so much more like complicated to even figure out how to get to anything like a command line on a Mac.
Yeah.
Whereas with the early PC, almost everything you were doing was on a command line. Was your DOS commands fairly often.
Oh, yeah.
You,
If
you may
you know,
not you may
honestly,
not date back that far, but I did.
oh, I do. I no. I do. I do. I would. I would. If you could, if they said, if they said, well, hey, we've come with this new DOS, and it's all command lines and DOS shell,
Mm-hmm.
and but it'll run everything you're currently running, but the whole program is on this floppy disk, not a zip drive, a floppy disk.
Exactly. Yeah, I
Um,
did that a lot of.
I,
I did a lot
I
of early game art like that on an Amiga. Yeah.
I would go for it because I I am a big I'm a big believer that most of this stuff has gotten so bloated, in
Well,
terms
yeah,
of
and
systems
you'd
and
stay
stuff.
out of trouble to a large extent too if everything was like that. You'd start fresh every day with loading your system, off your off
Well,
your.
well, I meant you'd load it from it was the whole program fit on a single floppy, not
Yeah, yeah,
necessarily you're running it from a floppy, but yeah, you get what I'm saying.
yeah.
It's the idea. I mean, and I've worked in Photoshop and Illustrator for years, and there have been a handful of tools over 20 years that have been added to those programs that I feel really add to my day to day. So if you could, but the program is bigger, it's more expensive, it runs slower. Well, it runs faster, but it requires more of a computer.
Hmm.
It runs slower relative to the faster computers we have nowadays. And I would, if you could undo that, I would do that. I was reading an article online. It was talking about guys that do digital painting, and I don't know how old this article was, but they were like, yeah, most of them, their favorite version of Adobe Photoshop is like version 6, or something like
Yeah.
that.
No,
And it's
I
just
can believe
because,
that. Something that they owned that they got just knew the ins and outs of that allowed them to do everything they wanted to do with it. Yeah. No, I can see
yeah,
that
they don't,
absolutely.
you don't need all the bells and whistles. They don't need, whatever. I don't know what they added in 6 or whatever, but they don't need that. And that's how my work is. There's
Hmm.
very few tools that they've added to Illustrator, which I use a lot more than uh, Photoshop.
Yeah, I envy your skills with the old Illustrator. Hey, I'm taking a break here real quick, Scott. So just draw away, and I'll be right
Oh,
back.
okay. I don't know if anybody's watching still. I know John was watching. Anyway, I'll, it looks like there's 3 people watching. Um, I don't know who's watching. I know one of maybe John. If you watch this regularly, you've heard me talk about this. Every time Ellis steps away, I talk about this book I'm working on. It's called Heaven's Rejects. It's about 3 angels that get kicked out of heaven and they come to Earth and they basically fight like supernatural beings here on Earth. I would call it a crossover between Charlie's Angels and Hellboy. But it's more it's it's not it's not like either one of them in tone. It's more Bronze Age Marvel. Um, I would compare it to Howard the Duck. If you're familiar with the Bronze Age Marvel Howard the Duck, not the movie, that's kind of what I think it's like. There's a lot of absurdity in it. There's a lot of just craziness right here. You can see this is a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot that has approached the girls at the campfire, and this girl has shot a harpoon gun through the Sasquatch's head, and that's the kind of action that goes on in Heaven's Rejects. Um, Coming in 2020 from Source Point Press, I have a publisher for it. I didn't write it. It was a different writer that I was introduced to by the publisher. and we are co-owners of the project. And I think he'll do really well for us. I gotta get the thing drawn. It's it's a lot of work drawing a comic.
Oh man.
Uh,
Yep.
I work a full time job, so I'm here every night in my studio, slugging away at it.
Toiling
I'm
away.
grateful for the toiling away. I'm grateful for the Wednesdays with Ellis because I always seem to get a lot done on Wednesdays. I think it's because I'm forced to sit here and my phone is recording or streaming, and my iPad is kind of I'm using it as a monitor over there, so I can kind of see what's going on. And so I don't have the opportunity to check any social media or any emails. I've gotten a call that I've ignored. It's been great. I sometimes I tease Ellis about being antisocial, but in reality, I'm jealous of him because I wish that my life allowed me to be antisocial. You know,
Yeah, I
um,
hear about I have this great love of San Diego, but it's a San Diego that was probably existed in '86 that doesn't exist anymore. And you know what? There's so much. I've got so many smells of things burning. I've checked the kitchen already.
oh
I
my
guess it's
God,
just the heater, and trying to look around for anything else that might be trying to
do
flame
you have a
up on me.
smoke detector?
No, I
Do
don't
you have a
have
smoke
no,
detector?
no, I don't have.
Hang on, wait. You don't have a smoke detector
I'm
for
I'm
real?
uh, I'm the smoke detector.
You don't have a smoke detector, Ellis?
Yeah,
You can go by any fire department and tell them I'm an elderly man on a fixed budget. Will you give me a smoke detector? And they will give you one. You need a smoke detector, dude.
sure. Yeah, I'll get one.
I think you're
No,
lying to me. No? Are you? Wait, are you?
I could buy a smoke
You
detector tomorrow. Yeah, you're right.
no, you can't. It's black. It's Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I guess you could.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. Yeah, tomorrow. I went by Walmart today, and they have all that stuff that's all roped off. It's like, no, you're not getting in here. This is Black Friday stuff. So that's all. It's all ready for you. All you people that get out for that, it's ready for you. I've seen it.
yeah. I'm gonna. You know what I always do on Black Friday, or not Black Friday? Well, late Black Friday afternoon, I'll go to Walmart, and because they put out so many DVDs, I'll pick through the leftover DVDs, and it'll probably take me an hour, and I'll probably leave with $60. I'll probably buy way too many DVDs. I'll probably buy 2 dozen DVDs that I don't have time to watch.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
I'm
the deal. Create that time somehow that lets you feel even comfortable sitting down to watch 2 hours worth of movies. That's what's kind of
Yeah.
unnatural about our little cinema group. It's like, well, I don't know how in the world with Dave seeming to have such a busy job scheduling and all that. I don't know. He seems to still take in all his comics and his movies. Seems to anyway.
Well, I mean, I think he works. I mean, I know he works more than 40 hours a week, but here's the thing. I mean, I could do it that if I wasn't drawing this comic.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. He's got
I
nothing
mean,
else distracting him, huh? You can take it in.
right? Yeah, and I think his children are well. I mean, he basically has his kid is high school age, so it's not like he has to do a lot with him. I mean, he does, but it's not like he has to do a lot.
Yeah,
He's
he's
in
got a
karate,
kid that would rather not
but
be tended to anyway. Yeah, yeah. Most high
right,
schoolers.
yeah, his kid is you know yeah, don't cut off the electricity, and I'm good here in my
Yeah,
room.
exactly.
Um, but I mean, his wife works odd hours, so I don't think they. I mean, I think they're. I don't think they work the same schedule. And I mean, even so, she kind of does her thing, and like I
Hmm.
said, if I wasn't drawing comics, I'd have all kinds of time. But these pages aren't going to draw themselves,
Right.
you know. Which is, I mean, I enjoy it. I've really been in. I don't know. Did you look at any more of that John Byrne stuff after I sent you that email or sent you the link or whatever?
Uh, well, I read all the stuff that you'd printed out, and I was really impressed by it. Yeah, explain what that John Burns stuff is we're talking about, because I'm just
Well,
fascinated
okay,
by the idea of what he's doing.
okay. So first off, I'm a huge John Byrne fan. Um, have been since I was a kid. Probably would not ever have been a real big comic fan, except for the fact I just loved his work when I was a kid, and I still think his work is really well. I think it holds up. Now he's been a lot of people have said, "Oh, I like his older stuff," or whatever. Well, he had basically retired from comics. He got to a point where he stopped drawing. He just he wasn't doing he wasn't taking on commissions or anything like that. He's always done commissions, and he got to the point where he's like, I'm not doing commissions anymore. He just didn't feel like drawing. He didn't feel it, and so he told his art dealer, I'm not taking any more commissions. And then he kind of got the bug to draw X-Men again. That's what he's well known for, was his X-Men run in
Hmm.
the 80s. And he said, I wonder if I can draw the X-Men like I did back then in that mode. Can I put on that? He probably referred to it as that hat, because he's used that term before. Can I put on however he views his art, or whatever his mindset was in that 80s era, and
Can I do it
he's
again?
trying to recreate that. He's trying to do that. Can I do that again? Basically, is what he's saying. And and he didn't announce it or anything, but he just posted on his thing. Yeah, I got this idea that I wanted to challenge myself, more or less, see if I could do that. And here's a couple pages, and everybody's like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And so then he did a couple more. He posted a few more. Then he said, "Yeah, I've been doing this for about a while, and I've got 6 issues worth of story." And he's just doing a page a day. And my understanding is he can do a page in about 3 hours. And I just love his work, and I've loved his work forever. And I really, there was a time where I kind of fell out of love with what he was doing. I didn't appreciate his current work, but I saw some of his stuff from the last time he was at Marvel, and he was doing that Hidden Years, and I saw some of those pencils he posted on his webpage. I thought they were really great because it had such a simple line, but it still it just looked really cool. I liked it a lot, and so
Hmm. Oh yeah.
I I looked at that, and what he's doing now, I think, and so on these new pages, these new X-Men pages. Now, originally the deal was he wasn't going to do anything with it. Well, then Marvel saw him, and they contacted him, and they CB Cebulski's been to his house, and they've talked about it. Well, Marvel never really did anything with that. It never went anywhere,
But they
and
fired him
so
up a little bit. They fired him up with the
they
idea of it all, right?
they, they talked about something, and they said, well, we'll call you, and then they never did. So he basically was like, well, okay, and he decided, I'm tired of waiting on him. I'm tired of all the games and all this stuff. I withdraw my offer to I don't want them to. They're not going to publish this. This is my thing. And so he's posting on his website. Now it's not inked, or colored, but it's penciled and lettered. Which,
And
man, to
because
me,
it's
like
it's
any,
in no publication form other than original art, there
yeah.
is no lawsuit problem with it.
Well,
Even though
yeah, not well,
it's
yeah.
kind of weird to think that it's still published. I mean, it's on. It's yeah. He
Yeah,
calls
but
it fan art.
he's not art. Yeah, it's well, here's the thing. they don't go after people that do fan art and do prints. They can't really go after him.
Yeah, really,
They
because
would have.
all
Yeah, he's not making a dime off of it, except for he's selling original art. They've always allowed people to do original art and
yeah,
sell it.
one-offs. Yeah, sure.
Um, and they've let people do all kinds of stuff with their characters, and so I think they would have trouble going after him. Now they could, but
Yeah, yeah, if they got in that
I think
mood. Yeah.
yeah,
Or
I
if
mean
it
they could
is,
always. I mean,
or if it just was brought to some sort of like person that has no affinity for comics whatsoever, is just a suit, is just a lawyer, and they're made aware of
oh
it, and
yeah,
they feel like, hey, I've got nothing to do this week. I'll just sue this guy out of existence.
well,
That could happen.
yeah. I mean that could happen, but I think they would have a lot of trouble. I think enforcing it. Anyway, for him, I mean, he's still working on them, Ellis. In fact, he was talking about working on. He's doing a page a day, and he has been for forever now.
I
There's a
couldn't
lot.
believe
He's
it.
got a lot of work.
All these really, of course, his level. It's not like he slacked off about any of it.
Oh,
It's just just that level you expect from him. And
dude, it's the perfect situation because he can sell those pages for a couple $1,000, and so he's making that money, and he can draw what he wants to draw. He's drawing the characters he wants to draw. He doesn't have to deal with any editorial or any writers. It's what he wants, and the stories are this. The art is great, but man, the stories are really good.
yeah,
I'm
that's the
really
deal.
digging.
All these guys that are selling at auction and all that, they love like anything to have an automatic $2,000 for everything they drew.
Oh my
Like that.
gosh. Well, I mean, my understanding is he can draw a page in about 3 hours.
Wow,
So he's
he's not
spending a
hurting.
morning making and yeah, it's like I said, man. If you think about it, especially a guy that's had a career and made a lot of money, I think he's in a perfect position. I'd love to be in the situation he's in, because he can do what he wants. He doesn't have to worry. He has nothing to prove.
Hmm.
He is legitimately a no
And
matter how you slice it.
he is admired by everybody, including like when you think about it. Look who Mike Mignola went to when he was starting up Hellboy to help him on his vision of it. He had John Byrne giving him some writing skill.
Yeah,
It's like okay, well, and then John Byrne turning around saying, "Mike, this is yours. Quit quit
yeah,
dabbling around
yeah,
here. Just do
yeah.
it
You know
yourself.
what you're
That's what you
doing.
want."
Yeah, don't. Yeah, you don't need me to hold your hand, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah, something like that. Something like that went on.
So what I want to do, and I'm gonna need your help with, Ellis, is at some point, I don't know what point, but there's gonna be an issue, and I want to get it off of Lulu. I want to do a Lulu, not for just for myself, and maybe if you want one or some people that I know. I don't want to make any money off of it,
Oh, you shouldn't.
but
You
I
probably
want to.
shouldn't even announce this because
Well,
I did that thing where I did a sketchbook of my one of my favorite artists, and I try to
yeah,
keep that kind of like that. No, you don't know about it, and I'm the only guy that does know about it.
yeah,
Because I could see the artist getting upset, saying, "Hey, that's my art. If I want a sketchbook out there, I'll do the sketchbook."
oh yeah, and the one you're talking about, that guy does plenty of sketchbooks.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean, I've probably got 8 of them on my shelf here.
yeah.
Um, but I'll need at some point in the future, I'll need your Lulu expertise.
Oh sure,
Um, you know,
sure. Because that's what I considered
um,
early on. Lulu was what I considered for
Well,
scrapbooking.
I'd like to do it big, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah,
but I don't
sure.
know how big you can do.
Oh, you can do it
You
as big
know,
as they have options for, and that might probably, you want it bigger than 8.5 by 11?
I'll take it probably about as big as they've got it. Depends on what the file size will handle.
Yeah.
You've seen them, and they're varying quality. I mean, that there's what I need is I need to take the time to go through and make each page look nice, or as nice as I can with the source.
Oh, yeah. Get your leveling
You
and
know,
all that done.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, that may be. I don't know if you'd be interested in one or not.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like it because it is pencils, and because as as you got me going, got me revved up on his perspective and his simplistic grid. As I got on that forum and investigated his stuff, he has said about perspective, that drafting machine of his, it's semi-modified because he's only got one arm on it, which I can see
Yeah.
that would clear up, instead of would give you a lot more elbow room as you're using it for one thing.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, I've got. Hang
you've
on,
got a drafting machine, don't you?
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh yeah, let's look at that. Yeah. Now see, if you just had one arm on that knob, that would be kind of
Yeah.
what Burns got.
Right. Which that's the one you use because this one. Okay, so this arm goes into the center hub, so that
Right.
works. See, the other one doesn't go into the hub. So if you use that other arm, it won't. The perspective won't work.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what he's doing.
So,
Is
but
he's got it down to that one.
I've got both arms on mine because when I was using it, I would use that for the vertical. I was using it to draw like border lines and stuff too.
Oh,
Like
okay.
this.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not
if it's got a use and it's not in your way, I get the
Yeah,
feeling
I don't
that
use it. Well, one I do
he,
what?
he's got a pretty expensive little arm too. I think, or it's probably a little better than yours that you've got, right?
Uh, mine's pretty
Oh, okay. No,
nice.
no, you've got the same setup where it's an arm that.
Yeah. Mine's. I mean, I've got books on. My desk is at a pretty steep angle right now, and
Mhm.
I'm using it to hold stuff because I can't use it with my light box because I mean I'd have to move my light box and do it. So when I'm doing a perspective grid, like I've done a couple on this page, or I've done one on this page. When I do a perspective grid, hang on, let me turn this. I mean, you can see. Well, maybe you can't see if it's blown out. But see, I do it. I just do it with a ruler.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
that's good to have a grid like that to let you know where you're at.
if I wasn't using my light box, I would 100% be using that drafting machine though. Um, it's pretty handy
Oh,
for sure.
you don't even use it, huh?
No, not much because I can't use it on top of this thing. I'd have to move this and then lay. It's kind of a nuisance.
Hmm. Okay.
And I'll do if I really need a grid, I'll do it on my thumbnails in the computer.
Right.
But ideally, what I want to do is I want to get to where I don't scan in my thumbnails. I just draw. I just look at my thumbnails and then draw it on my boards. That's where Byrne is making the big leap in my. He doesn't even do thumbnails, dude.
He doesn't.
No, he just sits down and roughs out the page.
Hmm. Well, I hope
know.
he does a big process video someday, maybe. That'd be nice to see.
Yeah, he's done one on inking, but just from being on his forum, I've heard him talk about how he used to do thumbnails, but he hadn't done thumbnails in years. He apparently stopped pretty early. What he would do is he would read the script, and he would sit down, and he did it all in his head, man.
That's pretty impressive. Usually, that sort of stuff usually takes some thrashing out.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey Ellis, it's 8:18.
Let's quit. Hey,
So
John, if you're still there, thanks for joining us again. And
yeah, thanks for joining us.
And we'll be back next time. You ready to quit?
Yes, we'll be here next. Yeah, next Wednesday will be good.
I'll add all our stuff in the body of the email. Oh, I do. I wanted to tell you about this. I got one of these the covers for my.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's nice. Really like having that little bit of extra.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. It distorts it.
What's that?
Oh, I switched to this mode, and it seems.
Oh, it's almost like 3D.
Yeah, well, it moves around in 3D. Seems to have distorted the image. So you see how it looks when it's like this? This is how I drew it.
Yeah.
Huh. Anyway, okay, back to signing off.
Okay. I'll talk to you. Ellis, I know you're not doing anything, but have a good Thanksgiving, man.
You too, man. Take it easy.
Okay. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.